function. And we noticed that the releases for capital was quite low. Most of the agencies that we visited, they didn't have more than 10%, 15%. And up to the moment of speaking, the capital releases are still very low. So far, the highest we have seen is about 67%. Most other agencies are just hovering between 40, 45. And so the budget implementation of 2018, in my opinion, is not very encouraging. And capital releases are what really ginger the economy, and because it is the expenditures arising from capital provisions that put money in the system, and this has been very, very low. Only salaries have been paid to the fullest 100%, and even overhead releases have not been up to 60% in many cases. Most agencies have received just for 6 months for the financial year of 2018, and we think that is not good enough. If you look at the total budget itself of 9 trillion, it's small budget. Sometimes 9 trillion sounds like big money. It's when you do quick conversions in dollars that you know that it's actually nothing. It's practically just about 25 billion US dollars. And for a country like Nigeria with over 200 million people, that's a lot. That's very small money. And if you don't release all of it, it's even, and you consider the fact that anybody who is going to do purchases, though we place our exchange rate at 305 naira to $1 officially, we all know that most people are buying depending on 360 naira to $1. So you are not getting value for money. A car that you could buy for 10 million about 4 or 5 years ago, you can't get it now for less than 20 million. So you will now see that the real impact is not felt. That is why we are not feeling the impact of the budgets. We advise that even this budget for 2019 is less than 9 trillion. If you can release every penny of it, and we can, because if you are seeing the revenues being announced by the customs, the FIRS, and other collection agencies, is far ahead of what we are talking about. So if you release them, surely there will be impact on the society. Just like I spoke with the minister now, the provision of 240 million for town hall meeting with youths, not a dime was released. And that is about 240 million naira that can impact on the youths. Nothing was released. So how will you feel the impact in the economy?
Okay, Minister, we know that it's been established.
I'm not a minister.
Sorry, distinguished. Sorry, I don't think about it. We know that it's been established that effective information management is very critical to the success of government programs and policies. But now we're talking about poor releases and lack of releases in some areas. You know, are there ways that the Senate, particularly from your committee, is working to make sure that there is better funding of the information sector so that they can perform more effectively as supposed to?
Yeah, certainly. The business of making budget is that of the National Assembly. No matter how you argue about it, there are always this argument that is whatever the president lays is what we should take back. But we are also arguing that it is our prerogative to make the budget. 2 days ago, I had to inform one of my interviewers that at a certain time, during the Obama administration in America, a budget was specifically referred to as the Rion budget, because Rion then was the chairman House Committee on Appropriation. He battered Obama's budget beyond recognition, so much so that it became known as the Rion budget. That is the power of appropriation of the legislature. We are at liberty to readjust things in such a way that it can help the information industry to live in the 21st century. But every time when you try to do that, they say you are padding. How can you pad a budget when you have the right to change things around? And then, of course, even if you pad the budget, if at all it is called padding, you can never do it without the collaboration of the executive. And if the executive doesn't want it, you don't have to assent to it. At the end of the day, the legislature will also use its overriding power to make sure that this is the budget that should be given to the people. So yes, I agree with you. Using our legislative powers, we can do things to enhance the allocations of the Minister of Information to enable them function properly in the 21st century. Because some of the gadgets that you could use 10, 20 years ago are now obsolete. There are so much gadgets that were bought for NTA, for Chogom and all African games, that today you cannot even use them. You have to recalibrate them or even cannibalize them to bring them up to standard for them to function nowadays. And so I agree with you. We are going to do our best to see what we can to help the ministry live up to expectations. But you see, the colonial masters that taught us these things, they do budget up to the rural road, including every stream in the country is on their map, and they follow it diligently. But we do budget just as a matter of ritual, as my friend said at the opening of this interview. And you finish the exercise, the implementation is skewed in a totally different direction. And it doesn't make for careful implementation or planning. And most of our achievements that we have had in this country were because we planned for 4-year plan period. And these plans were followed diligently. That is why you have all the bridges in Lagos, the international airport, the refineries. All these were products of 4-year plan periods. And then we stopped all of it. All the best we are doing now is midterm planning period, which you don't even follow. If you are following it, you'll be able to deal with the economy proper. What we are doing is just the American style. And the American style, they depend largely on the private sector, not even on government. So, and the private sector has a development plan period of even 10 years. They know what car is going to come out in 10 years' time, what brand of car. All the electric cars you are seeing today are a period of plans of over 20 years ago. And they can tell you effectively now in 20 years' time, nobody is going to need your oil because it is in a development plan. But we don't know what is going to happen to us next year at all. We are only praying that God will show us some visions. And thank you.